7 reasons not to move to Charleston, South Carolina. Charleston and the surrounding suburbs is the #1 friendliest city and voted one of the best travel destinations. But how does it stack up to moving to Charleston or the surrounding suburbs? Today, I am diving into the 7 reasons why Charleston might not be the best move. While Charleston, South Carolina is known for its charm, beauty, and southern hospitality, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, folks. And you're also going to want to stick around to the very end where I tell you a bonus con that might make you run for the hills.
Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Yeah. But before we jump in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you never miss an update about the living in this beautiful low country area called Charleston. But most importantly, you need to give me a call or text if you're planning to buy a home here. Now, let's get into it. All right, let's kick things off with our first reason why you may not want to move to Charleston. And this is the high cost of living. Charleston might look like a dream, but it comes with a hefty price tag. The cost of living here is significantly higher than the national average. Housing prices in the peninsula and some of the surrounding suburbs in particular are soaring. Whether you're looking to rent or buy, you'll find prices that are steep. And it's not just housing. We're talking groceries, dining out, even healthcare can be more expensive. So for many, this high cost of living can be a definite deal breaker. Just remember, where you live in Charleston may dictate a lot of this for you, especially if you're living on one of the many islands or even the peninsula. Homes in Charleston market can range from $500K to north 2.5 million and up. Now, there's even houses more expensive than that, but for a lot of people, those tend to be the ranges that most people fall within. And that's a lot of bread. If you're looking at the area and thinking, that's not bad, then it might be an ideal location for you. Next up, let's talk about the traffic. Charleston's charm brings in a lot of people. It does. And with that comes congestion and traffic. The infrastructure hasn't quite kept up with the population growth, leading to heavy traffic, especially during rush hours, or commuting can be absolute nightmare. And finding parking downtown is like finding a needle in a haystack, if that haystack was the size of a city.
That's a good one.
And if you're used to smooth commutes, Charleston's traffic might drive you a bit crazy. Don't let the traffic completely scare you off though, okay? Because I compare it to New York traffic, which you can be stuck in the same spot or drive maybe 10 yards in a 2-hour span. No joke. It could take you an hour and a half to drive 5 miles. It's absolute chaos. And Charleston isn't even close yet. All right, let's move on to reason number 3, hurricanes and flooding. Everybody's favorite subject. Charleston's coastal location means it's vulnerable to hurricanes and flooding. Every year from June to November, we brace ourselves for hurricane season or tropical weather season, however you want to define it. Even if a major hurricane doesn't hit, the heavy rains, those tropical weather, the subtropical weather can cause significant flooding. This not only disrupts daily life, but also increases insurance costs and can cause damage to your property. I have personally lived through 4 major hurricanes here that came up the coast, and there was mandatory evacuation. Unless you live in Summerville, then more than likely you didn't need to evacuate. But that mandatory evacuation can still be kind of a disruptor to your life. It's still something that can be a concern, especially if you're someone who worries anytime it rains, your home is just gonna flood. It's not like that unless you purchased a home in a major flood zone. And there's some of you that are like, oh, I love the historic home, I just want to be here. Well, the historic homes don't necessarily have good water removal as the newer neighborhoods do. So this is something to consider. But this is why you need to reach out, because if you're not ready to deal with these natural disasters, Charleston just might not be the best choice for you. Reason number 4, humidity and heat. Now, let's talk about the weather. If you can't handle the heat, Charleston's summers might be tough for you. The humidity here is intense, making the already high temperatures feel even hotter. Ugh. It can be 92 and have a heat index of 112. I have personally acclimated to the weather here. Being from Buffalo, we had 6 months of -2 degrees. You knew what to do with it. I mean, it was just like it never stopped. Even then, when the snow melts, your basements will flood. Pro here, no basements. But one thing to consider, buy a home with a front porch or a back porch. and install a high-powered 52-inch or larger outdoor fan. I have 3 under our screen porch, and they produce enough air that it makes staying comfortable in the heat a real breeze. See what I did there?
No, that was lame.
Summers are long and the sweltering heat can be draining. I totally understand that. Air conditioning is a must no matter what home you get, but even then, the heat can be overwhelming. If you're someone who prefers milder climates, this could be a major drawback, or it could burn you. See? Dad humor.
This is the worst.
Okay, reason number 5, limited public transportation. Now, public transportation in Charleston leaves much to be desired. While there is a CARTA buses, the system is not extensive or reliable as you might find in much larger cities. Most residents rely on their cars to get around, which ties back into the traffic issue we mentioned earlier. I have also had so many people who don't have a driver's license or just don't drive in general ask me, and they're coming from bigger metropolitan cities where public transportation is everywhere, and they ask me, Ryan, how do people get around there if there isn't a ton of public transportation? I usually tell them Uber or Lyft, which is great for some people, but financially a more expensive option to public transportation. So if you're used to efficient public transportation, Charleston might be a tough adjustment. I'm just saying. I'm not saying it's not a deal killer, but it's just gonna be a tough adjustment. All right, reason number 6 that Charleston just might not be the best place for you is the job market. And I know what you're saying. Well, Ryan, you talk about jobs all the time. Jobs here, jobs there. Yeah, but the Charleston job market can be a complete mixed bag. And personally, a lot of big companies are coming to Charleston, and while there are opportunities, especially in hospitality, healthcare, manufacturing, competition for these jobs can be really stiff. Salaries here often don't match the high cost of living, or making it challenging to find a balance. If you're moving without a job lined up, you might find it difficult to secure a position that meets your financial needs. And then on the other side of that coin, you may try to get a job here and they may say to you, do you live here now? And you may say no, and they go, thanks. You know, these jobs don't want to hire someone who isn't 100% ready to go or already has their home sold and they're already on their way here. Also would be something where if you don't have employment set up, I would say don't really bother looking at houses now, because inevitably you're gonna fall in love with a home and then you're not gonna be able to get approved because you don't have a job yet. It's like putting the cart before the horse. And so many of you do this, and I don't understand why. You put yourselves through an emotional teeter-totter. I've had folks go against my judgment to try and buy a second home using their current income. Then once they find a job here, they would reapply with their new salary to only realize they no longer can afford that much home. They end up losing their earnest money and the time and energy that went into planning this relocation. Don't do this to yourselves. Give yourselves the right plan. You need to reach out. I will help you through this. There's so many options we have, and I have a whole tool belt of lenders and credit specialists that can effectively help you through the very tricky parts of the Charleston real estate market. And don't worry, we've got your back. All right, reason number 7, overcrowding. Oh, it's getting a little crowded in here. Overcrowding it's absolutely no secret. Charleston has exploded and the area is developing almost as fast as new residents move here. The issue is that we're seeing wait times, appointments, and even services change their policy for longer wait times. God, doctor's offices. If you call to make a doctor's appointment, good luck. It's probably gonna be about 3 months, just being completely transparent with you. Hair salons, my barber, I have to book my appointments 3 appointments out because that's how busy he gets. And if I don't, and I say I wait until the week before, I'm not gonna get an appointment with him. I won't see him. I'll have to see somebody else. Same thing with schools. We're seeing overcrowding in schools. And so you're seeing that in certain parts of Charleston, but the schools are having issues with busing kids to the school. They're having, placement issues, all of that. Let's talk about gyms. So my gym is packed constantly. If I don't go there at 6:30 in the morning to get there early enough before the 8 o'clock, 8:30 rush, then I'm not getting a piece of equipment. That is very real. It's so crowded there from 8 to 10 or even 11 that I would say it's not even worth going. Restaurants are another issue. You can actually find that If let's say next week you want to go on Resi and take your wife out or your significant other out for dinner, you may not find available time. So you almost have to book maybe 2 weeks out. And food delivery services are also getting to be an absolute nightmare. DoorDash, Uber Eats, things like that. You're seeing wait times upwards of 50 to 55 minutes, and then even more. And some people are like, well, why wouldn't you just pay to have it directly brought to you if you're worried about it getting cold? Well, sure, but some of those fees are $5 to $10. And if you're already paying $50 for your order, you're gonna wanna pay another $10 just to have it brought directly to you to make sure it's hot?
Yeah, I'm good.
Another one is vehicle repairs. My wife had to have some work done on her vehicle recently, and they were like, we're gonna need your vehicle for probably 3 months. And she's like, what? And they were like, well, we have to order the parts, and the parts are on back order, and it'll take about a month for them to get in. Then once they get in, we're gonna have you drop off your vehicle, and then we're gonna have to look at everything and determine, okay, are we gonna replace the bumper? Are we gonna paint this part? And it was just like, unbelievable. So it took my wife 3 months to get her vehicle back from just having some bumper touch-ups. I mean, dead serious. And that was awful. I mean, I was like,
we can walk from here.
Okay.
we're down one vehicle and we have 5 kids. Crazy. Okay, so the other thing too is even house calls for services like HVAC, pests, things like that, you're also starting to see them book out maybe 2 to 4 weeks in advance. So this influx of new residents has also led to increased demand for housing, which can also, and it drives up the prices of the homes, making it harder to find available homes. So if you're someone watching this and saying, well, Ryan, my wife and I read a blog article from 2018 that said we can find affordable housing in South Carolina cheap because everything is cheap in the South, you might as well cancel your trip here. It will be a complete waste of your time. It's no longer cheap. Housing in the Charleston and surrounding suburbs is averaging market price of $910 and growing, guys. That's the average. I do have some clients who will keep the $500K price point and buy a smaller home or buy a home that is gonna need some love and TLC, and then maybe move in and immediately start needing repairs. And that's the problem. $400K just no longer gets you a good deal in Charleston, Mount Pleasant, or even James Island for that matter. Charleston County is actively working though to address the overcrowding issue by expanding school facilities, adding new programs to accommodate the growing population, and community leaders are also exploring options for improving infrastructure and public services to better support the needs of the residents. While overcrowding can absolutely be a challenge on anyone's life, it's important to stay informed about the steps being taken to manage growth and plan accordingly. Everyone has this kind of mindset like, whoa, is Charleston? It's not Charleston like we used to know back in the 80s. No, nothing is. Nothing is ever going to stay the same. And for somebody to get closed-minded and be like, well, Charleston isn't the same as it used to be, so therefore I'm gonna complain and bitch and moan. And it's like, well, you can bitch and moan all you want, but hey, life evolves, things change. Cities burn down, they get built back up. That's how it happens, folks. And if you're not ready for that, then this area is just not for you. And as promised, you stuck around to the end. I do have this one final reason you just may not want to move to Charleston. And that, my friends, is our love for the Second Amendment and the constitutional open carry here. I have lots of people who ask me about this and they say things like, are people really shopping with automatic assault rifles? Ah! And I'm like, is that a serious question? No, people aren't just walking around with assault rifles, and I know they mean an AR-15, which does not mean assault rifle, just so everybody's clear on that. You may see people with their pistol or handgun, and I understand in this soft vanilla world that most people live in, this would seem like a scary fact of life, but it actually makes some people feel safer, especially when there are a large demographic of lawful and smart gun owners. Charleston is all about their God, guns, America, and living a righteous life. And if that's not your cup of blue, well, then I would consider another state. I hear Newsom's doing some wild things.
No, Jose.
So there you have it, folks. 8 reasons you might want to think twice before moving to Charleston, South Carolina. It's an absolutely beautiful place with tons to offer. But again, it's not for everyone. If these points resonate with you, you might want to consider them carefully before making the move. Remember, every place has its pros and cons, and what's a deal breaker for one person might not be a deal breaker for another. If you have any questions or you want more information about living in Charleston, you can drop a comment below or reach out to me directly, 843-226-5535. You can call me, you can text me, send me a carrier pigeon. Heck, just say, hey, Ryan, I saw you out and about and wanted to come over and talk to you a little bit more about houses. Feel free. And don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell for more content about life in Charleston, South Carolina.